Welcome back to Go Again Gaming, and welcome back to League That Means Nothing Season 3. Bigger, better, adjacent, and it means even less. After all, we've already had two more of these things, hey? But you are here with me, your voice of the league, Ian Holland, Final Spirit, on all the social medias, and we have a very special game. Today we have Go Again Gaming's own big fan, Andrew Mason, rocking Dash IO, one of the coolest heroes out of Bright Lights, and a hero that has gotten a new lease on life thanks to an armory deck which released several busted items and some insane equipment. And now Andrew is going to be trying to boost his way to victory. Maybe we're going to see some cerebellum processors, draw some extra cards, something like that. We can't do the super busted thing that we saw Sam Sutherland do, but hey, Team Turd is here to represent. And he is taking on Kale Brenzy. Kale, Dead Summer Fables. They are the lore expert of Flesh and Blood, and they are a massive Runeblade stan. Hence, the choice of Florian, Rotwood Harbinger. A very different sort of mid-rangey defensive take on the Runeblade archetype, which has so far usually gravitated towards the more aggressive style of play. Now, let's be interesting to see how this shakes out. Is Andrew going to boost his way through the game, or is he going to boost his way through the deck? Is Kale going to be able to decompose and set up those massive rune chant turns and germinates, or are we going to see one of those games where our deck just does not want to cooperate? They don't want to go and decompose. There's only one way to find out.
The League That Means Nothing Season 3 is brought to you in part by Green Tree Sports Cards out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's right, the Yinzers have shown up en masse to support this league that means absolutely nothing. Make sure you go and check them out at greentreesc.tcgplayerpro.com for a variety of TCG events and singles and product, including this favourite card game of ours, Flesh and Blood trading card game, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic. These guys are also the ones behind Camp Green Tree as well, so make sure you go and check them out on all the socials and keep up to date with some more amazing events coming down the line. We'll see you soon. Let's get back to the tournament.
So it looks like we have Kale going first here with a pretty standard opening for Florian here, activating Grasp of the Arcanite, pitching a Plow Under, not very useful when you don't have any Earth cards to decompose. We're going to play a Strong Yield, pitching a Amplify the Arcanite, also not very good when you don't have any Rune Chants. And Kale with a interesting choice of weapon in Dread Scythe. A weapon I have already seen in this league at least once. Deals an arcane damage for 3 and attacks for 3. Andrew doing the smart thing. Remember, we do not want to lack critical information. When you are a Dash.io, you get to look at the top card of your deck at any time, once you have priority. And once per turn, you may play a Mechanologist item with cost 0 or 1 from the top of your deck, as though it were an instant if you pay 1 additional resource, which is very strong and even better and more busted when you have access to something like crank items, because you crank to a take a counter off that thing and then boom, you've got extra action points. But we're going to attack with this 0 for 60. We're going to boost, so it's going to have Go Again. It's going to be a 4 Go Again, boosting a Sprocket Rocket. And it looks like Andrew has a very unique item setup, or equipment setup, as it were. Hanabi Blaster is kind of becoming in vogue for Dash.io, but a thing I did not expect to see was a good old Arcanite Skullcap. Do not ask a woman her age, a man how much he earns, or me how much I spent on an Arcanite Skullcap when I got into competitive Flesh and Blood. It is not a question I want to answer, especially if you tell me the price of a Skullcap these days. And the Heavy Industry Gear Shift Arms, which is a very unique one you don't see an awful lot of. Now, we have Kale blocking with a red Earth form, so that's going to be blocking 2 on this 4. Andrew, have you checked the top of your deck? Do we lack critical information? Is that a Boom Grenade? Oh, I hope not. Kale just taking the 2 here. Andrew going to play a Pulse Wave Harpoon. pitching a BIOS update. So this must be a fairly red heavy hand if we are not doing anything else, and boosting away a BIOS update. More importantly now, Andrew gets to say, hey Kale, show me what you got. Show me your secrets. Show me 2 cards from your hand. If one of those has 2 block, I get to put it as a defending card here. So we're choosing to obviously reveal 2 3 blocks, and Oath of the Arknight and an Amplify the Arknight. This is a very Runeblade heavy version of Florian. Usually you will see a lot more Earth cards in decks like this because you want to force your way through into the decompose. And it looks like we do not have any items on top of the deck, but Kale is going to block 3 here, which would, with the strong yield and the Earth form, give us the all important 2 Earth cards and a second and a third action to banish when you decompose. And we seem to have a cerebellum processor. We're going to crank it to remove a steam counter, gaining an action point, and use it to draw a card, which will provide our Dash.io with an arsenal. Obviously, Andrew rocking those excellent Team Turd sleeves. What is this 3? So we're going to play a Malefic Incantation, a busted card that came out of the Rosetta set. So it comes in with 3 counters on it, and whenever you attack once per turn, you get to remove a counter from it to generate a rune shot. So we're going to just send a Dread Scythe here for 1 rune chant and 6 physical. 6 physical because of that strong yield that popped at the start of this turn. So we have 1 arcane, and 6. Not too bad for a single blue here. One damage was missed from the Dreadside Arcane. I don't know. But hey, it might come down to 1 life, and if it does, I'm very sorry for you, Kale. Sorry about your damn luck. Kale just going to draw up. So we're going to take a steam counter off the cerebellum processor. We have yet to activate Dash.io, but I feel like that's what's about to happen. So we're going to flip over that activation, finding another cerebellum processor, and I would imagine we're going to crank that and generate our second action point. We are, so 2 action points for Dash.io, not so bad. And now we get to decide if we want to draw a card and use up that action point, or if we want to just go for it. Andrew taking a bit of a think here. This is a fairly complex hero, so it can be quite different to how most heroes operate when you're trying to figure out your lines, but it looks like we're going to activate that cerebellum processor with 0 steam counters on it to draw a card. And let's see what we have here. We have 1 floating. We should have still got 4 cards in hand. And we're going to boom grenade. We're going to crank this grenade. We are in fact going to crank this grenade. Andrew using that black dice to represent action points or no. Now let's see what we have here. Very surprised by this choice of skullcap. It's not one that I'm used to seeing in decks much recently, but here we have Fast and Furious, another amazing card from the Dash.io decks. It's going to boost this Teklo core. Unfortunate. Now we're finding the items. Where were these when we had a turn to just kind of set up? But it is 4. Go again. It gets +1 because Andrew has cranked this turn. So it is 4. Go again. And when banished from boosting, you can put a steam counter on an item you control with Crank, which can be a great way of keeping your boom grenades around or your cerebellums or whatever you feel like. So Kale has to decide whether they want to take 7 or 0 or any amount of damage in this turn. So let's see what we've got here. 4 coming in. What is Kale going to do about it? Looks like we're just going to give up 2 cards, a Truce and a Germinate by the looks of things, so we're going to block a clean 6. With 2 cards remaining in hand, Andrew probably has some follow-ups here. And we're going to attack with this Zipper hit for another 4. Go again, boosting another Sprocket Rocket. So Andrew should still have a card in hand here, at least one. It might be a 0-cost boost. So let's see what happens. So Kale going to block 3, take 1 plus a boom grenade to the dome. And here we have a T-bone. And Andrew, I would hope is we're gonna boost. It's only a T-bone for 1. It has go again. Now we have a Cerebellum to make sure we get the arsenal. And thankfully for Kale, they get to block with those well-grounded boots, which don't actually have any downside to blocking with here. So Kale going to 32, and Andrew with another T-bone, boosting an Outpace, a card that would be significantly improved here, but this is another 1, and Kale is going to have to give up one of the first pieces of block on equipment here, and we have a point on the Hanabi Blaster here. So Kale giving up the first piece of block on Grasp of the Arknight here. Andrew going to close up this combat chain. Going to use the Cerebellum, draw a card, make sure it goes into the arsenal. Very surprised to see as well the Heavy Industry Gear Shift as the arm piece chosen by Andrew, where normally that would be something more similar to adaptive plating, I believe it's called. Yes, it's an item with galvanize, so you could block, say, and just cover up a Cerebellum processor. Now, Kale gaining 3 life here, up to 35. Life gain wasn't registered. Oh dear. It'll come up again, apparently. So we're going to lose our first Cerebellum. We're going to lose a Steam counter from our second Cerebellum. And that looks like a 0 to 60 in Arsenal. So let's see how we start. So we're boosting in 3 go again here. And let's see what we have. We have a block with an Amplify the Arknight. If we want to play another Cerebellum processor off the top, you would. Oh, I hate this. This is one of the worst things about playing against Dash.io is sometimes she just does this. It's busted. They have only looked decent so far in this game, but they're pretty good. If you could have combined this with something like High Octane, that's when it got nutty. Thankfully, LSS have taken High Octane out the back and sent it to a farm upstate. So we're going to crank that, go up to our second action point. And we have, well, it looks like a Technocore on top. So Ian could very easily close the combat chain after this, draw with a Cerebellum. That looks like to be what we're going to have happen here. And Spark of Genius, even better. An even better use of that extra action point because you're going to draw a card anyway. So we are going to get a Technocore, which means we're going to draw a card because we have boosted this turn. That is a good use of our extra action point. And now Andrew can use the cards in his hand to boost away a couple of attacks and then finish with a Cerebellum processor to draw a card. So I wonder what we're going to see here. We're going to use our extra action point. We're just going to draw up. Really? So that would be the... Now, that's I believe there has been some misunderstanding with the number of action points that Andrew actually has available to him. Because that turn should have ended following the activation of the Cerebellum. And it looks like Kale is just going to elect to take the 2 here and say, send me the bill later, wait until there's something that they care about. Andrew missing his 2 points of damage here. It's alright. But we're getting there. Hey, we have basically evened out what we have missed. And now we have a red 0 to 60 coming in here for 4 with go again. I assume we're boosting. Yeah. And now we're having a quick look at the top of the deck, trying to decide. It doesn't look like it's an item. It could be an item. It could be a boom grenade and reactions. Who knows? It looks like Kale is tentatively considering just taking the damage here. We have yet to see any decomposing from Florian. The damage. So we're now at 28 to 29. I think. Or 28 all. 28 to 29. Yes, I think we're all on the same page here. Maybe. Question mark? Question mark? Who knows? Either way, let's see what Andrew decides to do here. It looks like Andrew is considering popping these Achilles accelerators. Oh dear, that could be quite dangerous against Florian. Florian can generate quite a lot of arcane damage, which is not something to mess around with. Going back, gaining a second action point. We're going to use that action point to draw with Cerebellum Processor. Go back to one action point. And we're going to play a Boom Grenade. I assume we're not going to crank this one, are we? We are going to crank it. So we remain at one action point. That closes the combat chain. And then we're going to max velocity. Big number, big number. So this is going to come in for a whole ass 10 with a boom grenade chaser. So this is a 14-point swing here. I imagine Kale is not going to be foolish enough to elect to take this one, but we will see. It looks like, yeah, we're going to block with a Germinate, a Felling of the Crown, a Face Purgatory, and a Fruits of the Forest. So we're going to get our Face Purgatory trigger here, where Andrew is going to discard this last card in his hand, and Kale is going to get to draw a replacement. But it looks like 3, 6, 8, 10 blocked. So that is full cover on this Boom Grenaded max velocity. So let's see what Kale decides to do with this hand that they have, and it looks like they're just going to pass. Totally valid. And now Andrew obviously back down to one Cerebellum. And we're going to lead in here with a 0 to 60 boosting a zipper hit. We have 2 resources floating from the Techlo Core that we had sparked for the previous turn. I think there was some, but this 2 resources, this is one of the best things about Techlo Core. It allows you to just sort of play your hands. Dash always has an abundance of resources. Techlo Core kind of breaks that limiter on the game. And Kale just electing to say, I'll take 2. Unless there's any reactions here. No, we're just going to deal the 2 go again. Into a zipper hit, a blue zipper hit. A lot of blues being played right now, which is not ideal. A Clarity Reversal Script. That's not one that you see a lot of either, but it feels like Andrew wasn't too concerned about it in this matchup. Didn't think about getting it into play here with Dash.io's ability. So let's see if Kale is still deciding to just tank the damage here. Yeah, it looks like we're taking another 3. These are kind of small potatoes in terms of the sort of attacks that Dash.io can send. Let's see what we have to follow up here. We have an outpace, can't be blocked by equipment. We're going to boost this. So this is going to come in for 4. Can't be defended by equipment. So if Kale wants to block this at all, it has to be with cards from hand. Yeah, it looks like we're going to root bend Carpus and we are going to decompose. Notably, it does not have to be 3 earth cards, but it can be 3 earth cards. So we're decomposing 3 earth cards. So we're most of the way to being halfway turned on, and we're blocking 4 on this outpace. That is our 3rd boost, so that should be another counter on the Hanabi Blaster? Question mark? So, Hanabi Blaster for 5 with Overpower. I can't help but feel at least one Steam counter was missed in all of this for the Hanabi Blaster. And very strange to see we still have 3 counters on our Malefic Incantation. But that is a card that gets a lot better as we get into the game, and Kale is just choosing to go to 18 here. I imagine they have the ability to convert this hand pretty effectively into damage. I would be very surprised if it was in any way different. So we're going to Yellow Cadaverous Tilling, pitching a Blood Incantation and something else. I can't quite see what's underneath it, but we're going to decompose. So we're going to be up to 6, turning Florian's hero text more than halfway on, but actually turning on the hero text or the ability text of Barkskin of the Millennium Tree and Well Grounded. So we're going to generate a rune chant off the back of this, and we're going to attack just for 7. I would be very surprised to see Andrew block this. And yeah, we're just going to go to 22, and Kale going to play a Sigil of Solace, gaining 3 life. So we have 22 to 21, but Andrew does have a full hand. So it'll be very interesting to see what he decides to do here. Kale has come off Arsenal to finally start generating some serious value. Now, let's see how we decide to do this. We're going to start with this Polarity Reversal script. I imagine we're going to see this one being cranked. It says action cards get -1 defense while defending. Yes, we're going to use one of the resources from our Tekla core to resolve that, and we're going to crank it so that we retain our 1 action point for the turn. And we're going to start with a T-Bone, boosting a zipper hit. So this is a T-Bone for 3, and Kale is forced to block with a piece of equipment, and they are going to do so with the Well Grounded. So that is blocking for 0. Andrew checking the top of his deck to make sure he isn't missing anything here. And it looks like this is just going to go through for 3 points of damage. Unless Kale has anything to add to this defensive combat chain here. Does not look like anything is happening here. Kale just taking the 3 points of damage here, going to 18 again. following having briefly enjoyed another stint at 21 thanks to a sigil of solace. And here we have a yellow zipper, a 0 to 60 even, boosting away that Spark of Genius, one of the few power cards left in Dash.io. And coming in for another 3 points of damage. Kale having to think whether we're going to block with a card or two here. Yeah, so in reactions, we're going to Root Band Carapace, and we're going to get Florian fully online, banishing some Earth actions and a regular action. And here we are going to drop in a Boom Grenade. This isn't from the top of the deck, is it? It is, in fact, from the top of the deck. We're not going to crank it by the looks of things, but it obviously is an instant. Closing the combat chain here. Play this Techno Pounder, pitching a Signal Jammer. And move to the end of turn. So Andrew is just going to draw up here, Kale at 18, but with his hero text turned on, they are going to be able to really push some damage here, because Florian kind of makes a lot of rune shots, and there is no preventing arcane damage left in Andrew's deck. So we're going to just lead in with this Command and Conquer blank text. You know, Command and Conquer defense reactions can't be played to Command and Conquer's Chainlink bottom text. It doesn't have any, but it's 1 and 6, so this is a 7 points of damage coming at Andrew. I would recommend taking some of this and trying to set up your Skullcap. One of the things about Skullcap that I always used to love in the game was trying to do Skullcap math. How do I ensure that I get the max value from my Skullcap while my opponent gets none? And Kale simply going to move what looks an Oasis Respite into Arsenal. Very strange one to see from Florian into a Dash.io, but hey, who am I to judge? They must know what they're doing. They're in the league. I'm just talking about it. And here we have a red Zipper Hit, pitching a backup protocol red, removing a steam counter from that Technocore, so this is going to be coming in for a clean 1 for 7. With Go Again. Might be a time for Kale to block, because this is a chunk of damage. Even if you have that Oasis Respite, that's a chunk of damage. And Kale is going to give up the first bit of block there, so that is 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 and 7, thanks to Barkskin of the Millennium Tree generating Embodiment of Earth times 2 because of Florian's hero text. And here we have another red Zipper Hit, pitching another red backup protocol. So this is another 5 points of damage coming in at Kale. threatening to carry over a Boom Grenade Chaser. No cards in hand for Andrew, though. Is Kale going to give up a couple cards here? We're definitely giving up this Germinate. So that is blocking 5. Easy. Well, let's see what our Florian decides to do here with 2 cards in hand. Card in Arsenal, 2 resources floating, Florian's hero text fully active, and a Malefic incantation in play. This is kind of the point of the game where Florian is going to really start taking over. And we're going to start with pitching a Felling of the Crown for a Runeblood incantation, which comes in with 3 verse counters on it. And at the beginning of your turn, your action phase, you will remove a verse counter, generate a rune chant. Because of Florian, you'll generate 2 rune chants. And we're going to come in with this red 0 to 60 on Andrew's side, coming in for 6, going in, boosting a... It looks like we boosted a throttle. Just taking a look at the top card of our deck, it does not appear to be much. And Kale blocking 2 with this Cadaverous Tilling, and going to take a full 6, going to 12, just to make sure. Kale, take 6, please. Right, from 18. Oh no, blocking 2 on 6, right. Sorry, there's been some miscommunications in this game and it's starting to get to me. And Andrew just going to play a second Teclo Pounder, pitching a pen script. So Teclo Pounder number 2 in play. Moving, that's the end of the turn, moving to Arsenal. Now let's see what happens as Kale gets a chance, a little bit of space to pop off, knowing of course that they have an Oasis Respite in Arsenal, so it's not exactly going to be like a huge setup here. But we are generating another 2 rune chants. And we're going to pitch a yellow and a red here for this Felling of the Crown. We're going to decompose. So Earth, and an action. This Felling is going to be coming in for 8. Andrew is going to have to put a card from hand to the bottom of the deck, and there's going to be 4 rune chants on top of it, and we're going to generate 2 more rune chants from this Malefic incantation. Right? No, I think we have... Oh, almost missed the trigger there, Kale. And is Andrew just going to start blocking? Yeah, we're going to get 2 from the skull cap, 2 from the chest piece, probably the heavy industry gear shift as well. Why not? Get as much life gain as you possibly can here. When you can't prevent those rune chants, you know you're taking 4 next turn. You don't have a say in the matter. If Kale goes down to a single blue in hand, you are guaranteed taking 5. So Andrew is going to go to 7 here. So let's see what Andrew has off this 3-card hand with 2 Teclo Pounders and a card in Arsenal. Hopefully we have some serious damage to push here, because Kale is kind of ready to start running with this game, and we're going to start with a pretty good one, a zipper hit. But we are pitching a red. That is not what you want to see. I was very surprised there. I would have thought you would start with the Fast and Furious. But anyway, we are coming in for 9 points of damage here. Losing one of our Teklo Pounders. And the other one going to 2 counters. And again, now we have our block with Barkskin, generating 2 embodiments of Earth for Kale. So that will put this up to a 5 block currently, thanks to those embodiments of Earth with that Malefic Incantation and the 1 block on Barkskin. So that is 5 block here, taking 4, going to 10. Now let's see if Andrew has any follow-up here. Obviously there was a red pitch for a red, not ideal. And here we follow up with a red T-bone. I imagine we're going to boost here. So this is just going to be for 3. It doesn't really have any text when your opponent has... Andrew hasn't even boosted here. So Kale, you don't need to well-grounded that. So we have no blocks here basically from Kale. And let's see if Andrew has anything else. Now, if Kale has a way of generating a couple of rune chants, we might just be running away with this game. Now, Andrew has no way of dealing with it beyond taking the first rune chant and pitching 3 to Arcanite Skullcap. That Arcanite Skullcap having AB3 is goddamn flavor text. Let me tell you, as someone who has played a not disproportionate amount of games where Skullcap was the single best thing you could be doing in terms of a headpiece. But yeah, it looks like we just have an Arcane Seed's life, which is going to put us up to a comfy 8 rune chance, which is more arcane damage than Andrew has life. And unless Andrew has some way of preventing damage, I believe it's called Dissolution Sphere, that's the end of the game. We don't got no more game here. All Kale has to do is swing with literally anything, and Andrew just throws down the turd, and that is the end of the game. We're attacking with a 9th Blade of the Blood Oath. That is BM, Kale. Goddamn, that man had no options there. But hey, it works. Kale wins, moving into the 1-0 bracket of the league. That means absolutely nothing. Season 3. Definitely seems to have a very unique take on Florian. Not something that I've seen a lot of, and it'll be interesting to see how the deck develops over the course of this league. Hard luck, Andrew. Welcome to the Pablo Pintor Memorial Submarine bracket, and I hope you get some more practice with Dio, because that is a complicated deck, and figuring it out on the fly is always a tough one. But hey, you lost the first round. That does not mean you can't come back for the rest of it, because we have 5 more rounds of Swiss to go. But if you like the league, if you like the video, if you enjoyed the commentary, if you are delighted that Az is doing this again for the 3rd time and he is working his fingers to the bone editing 27 games of Flesh and Blood, all for the love of the game of Flesh and Blood. Make sure you like this video, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe to Go Again Gaming so that you get these videos in your inbox every day they get released. And let me tell you, for the first 2 weeks of this league, you're going to be seeing a bunch of games, if not more, every single week. Now, if you enjoyed the commentary, I would love to hear back from you, and you can find me either on finals_spirit on Twitter, not saying a whole lot, but you will find me talking an absolute mess on finalspirit.bsky.social. And with that, I'm going to love you, I'm going to leave you, and I will see you in the next one.